is I'm always looking for, what's going to work kind of in a gi scenario, no gi scenario, MMA scenario, and then in a real actual like street altercation. All right, and when I see a move or a group of moves that work across the board in all those areas, that's the one I spend a lot of time on for myself, a lot more focus. All right, and then obviously as you start to drill, if you're more MMA oriented, now you can start to focus on that. But the biggest thing is I'm a total believer in simple things done right at the right time win fights. All right, and a lot of times, obviously, if you have a short time, you're losing the fight, then that's the time to pull the crazy stuff out of the box that all of a sudden hits the person. But generally, as people get better and better, their defense gets better. All right, they're able to counter. All right, and your goal is to be able to control them. If I can get them on the ground, I want to control them, because every time we stand up, all right, if I have good control on the ground, I'm scoring a lot of points and threatening the person. Now, I want to keep them there, because every time we stand up, we just open up that possibility to get tagged again one more time. And obviously, vice versa, if you're a really good stand-up guy, all right, and your goal is to keep it on the feet as much as possible, your goal now is to keep things super simple. So if you end up on the ground, either A, I can escape or reverse with very high percentage move for me, or I can get to full guard and stifle it to get it back up to the feet. All right, so sometimes what happens is people get on the bottom, and this is the way judging is, and you have to face reality. All right, it doesn't matter if I'm on the bottom and I've went for 22 submissions and the guy hits like a few times. The judges are like, oh, he's on the bottom the whole time, he lost. All right, so all those submission attempts, regardless of how close they were, sometimes is for naught. But it doesn't mean you don't try. For sure, you got to try to submit the guy. But after a while, if you're going 1, 2, and the guy's just keeping super defensive, you got to get out of there. You got to get out of dodge and get it back into your position. And instead of sitting underneath and standing on your back and trying to punch the person, when he's on top with all the gravity and leverage to pound you, he's going to be winning that war. All right, so think about when you learn all these different moves, there's going to be some that feel really good for you. All right, those are the ones you should drill. All right, those moves that that you can pull off a majority of the time on the majority of the people that you grapple with, those are like your A moves. Spend extra time. It's no different than if you're doing judo or wrestling or whatever you're doing. Repetition, repetition, repetition. You have to have something that that you're so comfortable with and confident with that you're going to be able to pull it off. And you have certain fighters that exactly what they're going to do, and so does everybody else, but so what? They're going to do it anyways, because they have the timing, they have the setups, they've done everything possible and looked at counters, looked at what the possibilities when this doesn't move, move doesn't work, where am I going to flow to next? What's going to be a secondary move? Can I go right back to my primary move? All right, and then what happens when you are fighting like that too, you're not going to expend as much energy because your body is doing what it knows how to do very efficiently and very effectively. When you start getting out of those parameters and you start just going really herky-jerky, or you're fighting a lot more and you're squeezing a lot more because you're in an odd position, that's when you start to get tired. So long story short, think about those moves. Of all the moves that you will learn over your lifetime, whatever, you think about, what can I do to 60% of the people 60% of the time under any condition. Those are going to be like your A moves. Of course, there's going to be a couple that may be above and beyond that, but remember the parameters. Under any condition, against anyone, at any time. Once you put that, you're like, that shrinks your amount of moves down to a pretty small amount when you think about that. That doesn't mean that you're not going to pull off something else and you can pull off a bunch of other moves, but you want to think, what can I rely on? When push comes to shove, when I need to do something that is going to allow me to escape, allow me to submit, or allow me to reverse, I have to have something that's so comfortable with that I can really pull off. And the only way to do that is repetition, repetition. And that takes mental discipline. It's much easier to roll than to sit there and take a few moves and drill them thousands of times. That takes mental discipline and mental talent. And you have to be able to just sit there and be patient and be detailed and try to think one move is going to be a little better than the next, and have rapport back and forth with your training partner. How did it feel? Does he feel like there's a little bit of room? Do they feel like they could have countered it? all right, it's really important that you dialogue back and forth, but you pick a few moves. Remember, this is ultimately it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I don't have to learn all these moves right now. I can have a whole bunch of moves, but I want to have those that I've simply mastered. All right, and it's super important. So when you start drilling, and that's what happens a lot of times, you'll see where people naturally start to go. It's like, oh, every time they start to roll live, person goes to their guard and they start to work. Some people, every time they roll live, oh, he's going on top, he's trying to do certain things. All right, that's where you gravitate to. Think about your focus, and that's where I want to spend a little bit of extra time drilling. All right, and again, I think that's super important considering, there's 24 hours in a day, and out of that 24 hours, a lot of things are pulling on that time. And you only have so much energy, and it's really about energy and quality, all right? Not just coming in and spending time, but quality time and quality energy drilling, all right? That's what's really going to be the most important part. So that's why I want to zero in on a few things. And then when you're rolling or when you go into class, that's where you're going to learn all the other stuff. And that's just naturally going to happen all the time, all right? So before we go to the next session, just wanted to kind of expound on, simple things done right at the right time win a lot of fights, and that's win a lot of matches, win a lot of arguments. All right, it's self-timing and what you say and what you do. So it's really important that you understand that when you get so much information thrown at you. Okay.